you go to Greek, if you go to Greek, and you ask any the dumbest student, what is photosynthesis? He can tell you. Do you know why? Photo means light. Synthesis, putting something together. Even if he doesn't know anything, he can tell you, oh, there isn't light to produce something before you have a technicality. When you go to any village, and I mean, out of that, I learned so many things. There is this word here of Onyaba. Most of us hear about it.
Yeah.
Imagine you are teaching the students varieties of plantain. Now it's Onyaba. Just maybe the students know, say, we are talking about the one without seeds. And I was surprised for the first time. I didn't observe that there is this plantain that has no seed. And that is how we join the game. So the terminologies, imagine you have fraction, calculus, integration, all of them were pointed out of, it's not out of range, some meaning. Every I was learning about, I think this. And that's the problem with academia I always fight with. I know Dr. Kosa knows, anytime I write online, you must have me behind it, but I can't. Like I can say this because there's no white tea, so I can let me finish here and talk to you. I am probably one of the few black racists. I'm an African, and sometimes we have to call a spade a spade. The world is running on the term eat or be eaten. Either you enslave someone or you are a slave. And therefore, we cannot leave anything to chance. Our problem, just like they agree with our governance, everyone is talking about, oh, I mean, I think you and the rest have so many things on training you, on advocacy and democracy and everything. They know very well. And I say, you see, that entrepreneurs, you have to see this. If you write, if you go to the article, please, I'm not a lecturer at the University of Ghana or Europe. I'm an entrepreneur and I do my business. They know very well that the only way an African can develop, or African country can develop, is not through democracy. But they will make sure, so long as you are taking the wrong thing, they will make sure you keep following that until you die as a country. And therefore, they will put building blocks there. And I think that is what we are doing even in our academy. So although there are so many researchers show that when you teach in a native language, the students will understand. They will tell you, oh, start teaching to class 3, then the students will transform to the English and go to. You see, at the end of the day, the English should be at the top. And every parent wants their kids to have that advantage. So we start speaking them home. I can tell you for a fact, most of the linguists, the professors, some of them need to speak English. So is it an issue of we wanting to tick a box or really believe in what we are teaching? Because, you see, they are converting their Ghana Hausa to their Hausa to launch this. As a government guidance. So I want you to give me a reason why the technology development is essential. We all know. That's why I don't want to talk about it. We all know. If I have to look at the testimonials here, if I'm teaching math, I'm teaching fraction. I use the word fraction. And I tell them, so what we did with Ayaprep, I'll play one of the videos to find. So we are still using the same technologies because we don't have our own technologies in Ghana or in the end of the language. But we use the local language to break down the explanation. So if there is fraction, they say it's part of a whole. Sorry. Part of a whole can be said in Ghana, in heaven. So that's what we do. And when the technologies are here, it's going to help the kids. Let me give you an example. So I was thinking about, before I came, about, I don't know whether it's a story or the thing, but you have to judge. How the word testify came. Testify. So in the olden days, when they were supposed to testify in court or without the word, say something in court, they were sorry, I don't need to be, but they held their oaths. Like the way I know Katanga and the rest. I'm a fellow. So you find out, you know, you can hold your balls before we see our anthem. So they held it before saying something. And we all know the name for that thing. So it was out of testis, they came with the word testify. It's not surprising. It's the truth. In fact, there is one funny one about analyze. I don't know whether it's a joke or something. So apparently they said someone had a pet monkey, and the pet could eat anything. And one day he happened to swallow a ball. So he suffered before passing out. So the next time we saw, anytime he's giving the food, afraid behind another come and shower down. And so because he knows that wherever goes he will definitely come out. So someone asked the owner, I can't want to do the record in the back answer for the account. So he's analyzing. He's checking whether it's the same length as the back there. So you see, this is how we have come up with it. I have a wonderful video of one guy trying to coin a word for Poseidon. There's this guy on social media calls himself Professor Light. Professor Light. Dr. Light. No, it's not Dr. Light. So, and it's so, you see, it's funny, but I think that is what these things are about. One child doesn't look cassava. And the reason is they don't look cassava. So what's the problem if he doesn't? Do we grow apple? Every child in Ghana knows something. So when they are growing up and they want to take any fruits, what's the first food they know?
Apple.
You see how the colonization has moved from chains into academia? And we are all watching. Now, I'm a scientist. I went to Ayaprep Limited, did science, won some awards, went to university, did chemical engineering. And I think one of the things I've realized in the research, even among my friends, when you look at the scientific method, the first stage is observation. Now, it is almost like the first stage of every research now is literature review. And therefore, if you have an idea to talk about, if there's no literature review, you cannot win. No, I just want you to understand the step-by-step colonization that we are even enforcing in our schools. So I came up with the idea of Ayaprep, not because I read any literature on it. I read a literature paper. I have to be honest. From UK, I want to be a building, I have to be honest. And I'm going to be a building, I'm going to be So, beginning, I didn't know I wanted to reach anyway anyhow. So from UK, I started Galaxy. That was in 2009, not the one they are doing. So, I moved from Wofan Junction, people to Konyao. So in Konyao, I lost all my money. Every money I came from to Ghana. Then I had most of the kids complaining about math. So I went to the headmaster. I have an engineering background. So I love math, honestly. I want math, I want that. In school, teachers are teaching my own math. So I love it. So I told the headmaster I can teach math on my tests. Anytime I feel I come and teach. Then lucky for me, when I started teaching, he was just standing right behind me. Then I started laughing. In my head, the moment you want to teach, you have to use. I started teaching step by step English. The whole class was quiet. So after like 15 minutes, the teacher called me. He told me, so he told me, so it teaches the picture on the camera. Then I said, you see, if you have to see us today, so it was all about language. And I started teaching them the native language. So when I came back to Accra, I started working with an IT firm. And I realized they were also developing passwords and everything. Then I had the idea. I I mean, I wanted us to change something about the app, but the founder was like, no, Charlie, I think let's go there. Where some of the young guys want to hear the new. I can be honest. The reason why most of us are facing all these challenges, I mean, the younger ones, the older ones, I think there was an old order. The new ones, let's take advantage of this. It's because every Ghanaian, no matter the solution you give him, is looking for the reason why it will not work. See, I deleted myself from a group. I think I didn't know the year. We had a MOU with Bureau of Languages and I posted it there. And the one said, this is a disaster. I don't want to teach anything now. This was, they call themselves STEM group in Ghana. So normally I wait around 3 a.m. when I wake up to start with them and delete myself from WhatsApp groups. So I deleted myself and a few people contacted me. Why? The energy people are going. I don't want that negativity. So every Ghanaian has a reason why something will not work. But the one reason why the thing will never give. So as an entrepreneur, I try to move away from the negativity. Then the political will. That we cannot do anything about. But as Prof said, I saw a group where the universities can help you. So I wanted to do research with Ayaprep. And KNUSU, I think, wrote a letter with KNUSU to the genius office in Kumasi. You've never replied to them. Never. In fact, see, whatever you are saying, you say government has tied their hands and this thing is. The truth is, we are Ghanaians before we got to those positions. And the Ghanaian part of us still works. They will give you all the reasons why it will never work. So let me tell you the real life story. I went to the Ministry of Education in 2021. I met the then Minister of Education. And see, the reason why the political will is so strong is, even in academia, there is that polarization. There are NBC linguists and MBC linguists. So even if the same, we are all linguists and we are suffering for our language to accept it. So long as the educational minister is saying it will not be accepted, let's say NBC, the NBC linguist will find a way to explain to you why they cannot accept it now. In the same line, in the same department. Yet when we come here, what we're talking about is as if we don't know what is happening. I don't know. Then our mindset. Most of us ended up in the linguistic department because our grades got that because we passed. Probably if you had 8 days, you would have been doing medicine or engineering. So we don't even have passion for we don't have passion. For me, I got in there because of my experience. And I think my passion grew exponentially. And every year, I get one student calling me. And because of Ayaprep, she's in school. He's in school. And I think one of the physical, the wonderful experience I had was I went to America for a funeral. And I met a lady. She was pointing at the car. I was like, I am my day. See, and you go for the Bible for the students there. And the boy said, Mas, minya yi ejirado. Omuti mi asifo. Ti mi shiti. Ese be sancho. But omuti mi kamas. And I was like, this school. You mentioned the name of the school, and I mentioned the Ayaprep. I'm saying about. This experience I have almost every year. That's why I'm not giving up on this. If I was waiting for government, I would have given up. I have some professors who were talking about this. And let me say this here. Right now, I'm tired of being actually, I'm not. And Dr. Kosa was trying to make it won't work. This same app that we are talking about, we went to NACA for them to approve it. They gave me an invoice of 7,000. And you see, when we saw the invoice, they were charging every language 200,000. So if I had done all the 12 languages in GS, it's going to be 2.4 million for what? You will be Then, you see, I'm saying all this because the topic is why the technology development is essential. I think the other speakers have done, they said enough. I want to tell you the barriers we are talking about and how we can all get to it. Then, this one is very sensitive, I have to say it. Then there's so much ethnicentrism. Am I lying? You see, the reason why I'm sure by the next 50 years, all our languages will die out because of ethnicentrism. When I started Ayaprep, I started with P. Then I won an award to develop the Ghanaian heaven. Then last year, another award to develop the Hausa dish. Ghanaians don't want to start. Because when we want to start, the question is, you ever mind and because you don't want to start with any of the languages, all of them die. The white man has found a way to divide us and work out, and we are all watching. I can be honest with you, I'm not saying this because I can't know. I was born and raised in Uwash. So by the time I got to get, my key was Usi because I was smoking gun, so full. I wrote down that one. I see our biggest issue among the linguists is the fact that we are all ethnocentric. So, we are all divided. I see one thing, when I did Ayaprep, one thing I realized was our languages have similar syntax. When we did the P language and we were trying to do the English, P language will take about 15 minutes, then the English version will take 4 minutes. Because they have so many things. I was doing it. So, either we come together to start with one. But the truth is, just like the academics, I'm not an education, but I think sometimes we are overexcited with writing publications that we don't apply. So, I'm not a researcher, so I stand to my head. So, the reason why I'm saying this is, when I developed Ayaprep, my mindset was, UCC will contact me, University will contact me, University of Ghana will contact me, because I have done something that we have done research on, and this is in line with their research. It didn't work like that. I came to UCC some 5 years ago. Some 5 years ago with my app, Ayaprep, young entrepreneur. I met some people at there. I can't be part. Then they told me, okay, I should go, they will get back to me. The next call that came, you know the question? What's it? What is the next for us? So has the government tied our hands, or we have tied our own hands? It's not just trust. I was supposed to do something with one of the universities. International Mother Country. And we were supposed to do something. And you know what they told me? And what we are doing is not in line with the UNESCO theme for the year. I said, UNESCO has a theme for the year. And the mother language is, if Ayaprep is coming together, it will not be in line with it. Do you think they really care about our mother tongue? Then one university also invited me before they go through, they have to vet the app and everything. And I think the school lawyer was just bashing with questions, and I was like, excuse me, can I ask a question? Have you started a business in Ghana before? She said no. I said, you have to understand the pain we are going through before you start asking me this question. At the end of the interview, they asked me, I suspected the name, so I should have introduced them. I wrote it, and they never called me. Has the government tied our hands? No, I don't think so. So if you want to find a reason to fail, you will find it. If you want to find a reason to succeed, you will find it. I think, as for me, I found a reason to be higher so strong. When Ghanaians were bothering me, I went to Nigeria. I've been in Ghana since, in fact, the Ayaprep has been in Ghana since 2013. I met the then educational minister. This one I've not met him yet. We were supposed to meet him last Monday before the Saturday, which is why I'm unfortunate. But I've never even been given a letter to go to the schools. Every time I go to the schools, I have to sleep. I went to Nigeria and 3 weeks later, they are giving me a letter to go to the schools. I have an MOU, it's almost signed, and they said they have signed themselves, I have to sign myself. With the University of Ibadan. I'll try and make it a bit broader. And I hope by the time I'm done with this presentation, most of you here will be very hungry. Most of you will be motivated to continue on this path. And most of you will have something to research about, more into the language we are talking about. And most importantly, you have an edtech company like Ayaprep to work with on the research if you are willing to. I want to start by this definition. Unfortunately, whilst they were giving the talk, I was summing out so many ideas to talk about. I think one of our biggest issues is how we have defined the word literacy. I checked the dictionary definition of literacy. It's about the ability to read. And I realized that anytime I check about the definition of literacy, there is no particular language there. But for some reason, when you come to Ghana and Africa, literacy means the ability to read and write English. And so when you read about the UNICEF Ghanaian literacy rate is 68%, 69%, what they are actually saying is those who can read and write English are speaking. And I ask myself, so if you can read and write our native language, what are you? Are you a literate or you are illiterate? You are illiterate.
According to the definition, you are illiterate.
But UNICEF will not put that in there. And I think I read one article on the last page who was talking about you should state it specifically. And they use the word Anglo-literate or something. So that those who read and write English will know that that's their specialty. So when someone else can read and write our native languages, they should also have them as well. Then let's look at the word education, how we have defined it. If you go to the definition, you realize that every country, so I mean, let's take the first the literacy. So when you go to China, who is described as a literate in China? If you go to Germany, who is described as a literate in Germany? So if you meet a typical Ghanaian who can read, because I know my grandmother can read and write machine, I don't think she will call illiterate. So when we look at this definition, that is how we have become so, Anglo-centric in our thinking, in our definitions. And I sometimes, although I'm to tech, I'm very, very cautious about, let's put our language on AI, let's do all these things, because let's be honest with ourselves. We all know on Google, we have Akan, Ewe, Gan, Hausa. How many of us here have used the Akan version of Google? How many have used the Ewe version of Google before? How many have used any of the native language versions of Google before? So why are we, pushing to put all these things on AI?